So first up, we're going to be checking out Styropyro's 2025 World's Strongest Handheld Laser. Styropyro, mad scientist. He knows what he's doing. I'm going to keep telling myself that because every now and again, I question it. And those questions bring me existential terror because some of the things he do are now the second craziest things I've seen on the internet. Having finally watched Nile Red and found out, oh god, Styropyro is probably more sane. Prior to yesterday, this would be... Actually, no, not even as a joke. This would have been the most scary thing I've seen. Now it'll be the second. Let's find out just if I'm wrong or if I'm very wrong. Let's just leave a like because I'll forget later.
This video is sponsored by Opera.
Oh, so I just saw Luna Dragon. One, thank you, two. Would love you if you checked out Daria Cohen, the Vampire series. I think that's actually been recommended before. I'm just not sure what it was.
The legal power limit for a laser pointer is
What?
5 milliwatts.
They have legal power limits? Oh no.
Well, I think it would be funny to build one that's 50,000 times stronger than that. Now, I've showcased a lot of ridiculous portable lasers on this
I remember a few of them, like the microwave laser where he burned through it.
channel, but so far, none of them come close to that kind of power. Even my strongest laser, which was world record breaking when I built it, isn't even half of this level.
What?
Now, considering
even
the
half?
advances in laser tech since I made this thing, I think it's time to build a laser pointer that just completely blows it out of the water. Now, I'll admit that more
My first video with this guy was a literal laser turret that he admittedly bought from someone else that he didn't build himself, that he had just adjusted to become a turret. But it worked. It had aiming of almost 200 yards, so 2 football fields. Not as fast as a 200, but he could do it. And this is going to be more powerful.
power isn't my only motivation here. This laser is horribly designed, and it is just plagued with issues.
Why?
Not only do I want the next one to be stronger, I want it to be good and packed with cool features. Like the last one, the heart of the new laser is going to be the best diode array that the Chinese
Burning
black
the snow.
market has to offer.
Oh god, we're doing the Chinese black market again. He brought them up when he got some very questionable parts for a microwave conversion. I remember that one, and oh god. And Moonguy, you wanted to know if we could do Rain World today? Maybe. Depends on what wins. And honestly, with how fast we're going today, we might do a couple of videos.
The kicker is that there have been 5 years of improvements on these things. The new arrays are stronger, brighter, and more efficient. They still carry the same dubiously legal charm as the last ones, though, as they still ship with scratched out part numbers, and the manufacturer still denies that they even exist.
So is it a case that the manufacturer made and just selling black market? They're stolen, or is it made by someone who doesn't want to acknowledge it? Honestly, all three could be the option.
Now, as long as I can input money into eBay to acquire these, then I'm not going to complain. I mean, honestly, the feeling that I'm not supposed to own these really adds to the appeal.
It's only a crime if you
I've
get
hooked
caught.
a new array up to a lab power supply as a test, and although I can't push it to full power on this thing, it gives an idea of the insanity that I'll be working with
Oh,
here.
jeez.
The array is
You
the
can
same
see the
physical
burn.
size as my first one, but with more emitters packed in the same area, and according to the sketchy datasheet, it's rated for 161 watts of output power.
Oh, fuck, man. I'm wondering, though, if he actually pumps in CO2 to make the gas so that you can see these, or is he just got such a dusty environment that you could see the lights? Or are they so hot that they actually burn oxygen to create their own gas and make their own visible light beams as they go? I can't say that last one isn't the case, and that would kind of terrify me.
I'm actually going to attempt to push it far beyond that using some overclocking techniques, but that's going to take more careful design than this piece of trash I built 5 years ago.
I'm sorry, you can overclock lasers? I was not aware that was a thing. I mean, PC components? Sure. It's just how you adjust everything that works. Oh, so he's probably not so much doing the laser aspect itself, but the components feeding the power and how they feed it. Okay, that makes more sense. Michael Hamilton, you mentioned Styropyro was obsessed with wondering if he could. He forgot to think about if he should. No. I think there's no thing about if he forgot if he should. The answer was yes, he should, and that was the answer he stuck with.
Now, if you think I'm exaggerating when I say this thing is poorly designed, well, It randomly quit working a few months ago, and I don't even know why.
What was he doing that made
So
it
let's
stop
open
working?
it up and see what's going on.
Did it burn
Now,
up?
it definitely smells crispy under here, but I don't actually see anything that's like burnt up.
Now, I've never built in a laser before. Also, built-in is not a word, but I feel horrible for saying it. And I'm not exactly good at wire control and making it clean, but oh boy, that is a lot of loose wires leaning on everything. This actually gives me stress.
Well, it looks like it's the batteries. They are completely fried. I wonder if the dead batteries has anything to do with how you have to like smash these batteries into the laser. Like seriously, they don't really fit in here. You have to like crush the batteries. And like, yeah, if there's one thing that lithium batteries love, it's to get crushed like this. And the worst part is that because I didn't build a
Doesn't
charger
lithium
inside
explode
of
if
this
overheat?
thing,
Oh.
you have to take it apart every time and then crush the batteries again in like a slightly different configuration. Oh man, I'm very happy that this thing never operated in pipe bomb mode.
I think I saw the video where this is from. Moon God, you have a knife and a skull in the thing right there? Yes. If this operated in that mode, yeah, I think that would be happen. If I'm right, I saw when he made this in a video, and the mode he's talking about was he turns up the heat, and it's not meant to do that because all the batteries in here, the heat gets really bad, and you're basically saying, okay, it works until it explosively doesn't. Yeah, and wait, we already reached the goal? Holy shit, we already reached the goal. Damn, that was fast. Oh, after this video, you guys choose the next one.
The cooling in this thing sucks too because it's just this giant chunk of aluminum
there's
that
no
doesn't have
heat
any real
cooling?
connection to the case there. So
Oh,
heat
yeah,
just
because there's only a
builds up
couple little
without
air
anywhere to
holes.
go. And then these laser drivers kind of suck too. I mean, if I would have used chips from the Sentry, they would be a lot more efficient than they are here. But you know what really cursed this project from the beginning? The very first sentence of the video. Hey everybody, it's the year 2020 and I want to celebrate. Now typically on this channel, I like building crazy contraptions. Yeah, that didn't age so well, did it?
I'm sorry. I must have misheard. Did he actually just...
Hey everybody, it's the year 2020 and I want to celebrate.
Those are not words I have ever heard someone say unironically. Not the what the fuck moment I was expecting today, but definitely one that was well earned. Okay. Also, am I? Rain World in a nutshell. Australia, but worse. And you are a slug. I mean, I've been called... Oh, you mentioned the game. Huh.
Now typically on this channel,
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't age so well, did it? So this time, I'm not going to
You look so
celebrate that it's
young.
2025, but instead I'm going to celebrate the fact that my channel has now made it 18 years on this platform without getting banned.
Oh, yeah, dude. Actually, just this morning, I got the 10-year mark for mine.
And yeah, it's not like I needed a reason to build a bigger laser, but if I'm going to correct the issues from the first video, I might as well be comprehensive. The one thing I did like about the first laser was the radar gun housing, so I bought another broken one on eBay. I took it
How many... Whoa. That's what those actually look like without all the bullshit in it? They're a lot more complex than I thought. Honestly, I was expecting it. These are older. They can't run a Raspberry Pi because they probably didn't have them in there yet. Yeah, that would do it. Also, for anyone wondering, yeah, this is the 10-year anniversary. I kind of just forgot about it as I started the stream and didn't remember it literally until he pointed that out again.
apart and pulled out the cool old microwave circuitry, and then added my own control circuits, a charging port, and a bunch of switches.
Oh.
Next,
Why is
I
this
picked
switch
up some
burned?
batteries, and assembled a pack using a battery management board. This should hopefully reduce the risk of catastrophic failure, or even a boring failure like over-discharge. I needed a circuit to carefully drive the ever-living daylights out of the array. Usually I use an IC from the 70s for this.
Why?
But in the interest of efficiency and size, I
Oh,
debugged
wow.
some modern purpose-built ICs for this task.
Probably for just
Now I
robustness.
took a risk here, since I built these to far exceed the array's ratings.
Oh?
This array is rated for 3.5 amps of drive power, so I decided that 4.7 would be a better number. Now yes, this carries the risk of destroying it early. However, with proper cooling, I think it should hold up.
Not quite the same thing, but I've heard with proper cooling, it should be fine. I've heard this so much when I was looking up how to build a PC. And I've heard a lot of examples recently where the cooling was not proper, and usually it's involving 4090 cables or 5090 cables. Yeah, cooling is very important. Honestly, at that point, I'd almost want to see if he could put a mini fan in there, or would he be able to water cool that? I mean, if he had a heat pack, if he had heat sinks that would just distribute the air from them as a radiator out the top or the middle, maybe. But that's a lot more engineering than what he's doing.
This will give up to 255 watts of output power, which obliterates the last one at 100.
Oh yeah.
I also added a PWM
Way more
feature
than
to
double.
the driver for audio-visual effects. I first tested this feature on a week.
Oh, so it burned through the wooden plank he was using into the actual ceiling. Yeah, it was bound to happen.
Speaker array, and it worked better than I expected.
Oh, so you... Oh, it
That
actually lit
sound
the
you
wood on
hear is
fire.
actually
Yeah, that makes
coming
sense.
from the laser hitting the wood.
Huh.
Now this is where things got difficult. I still
he
had
has to
cooling to
re-drill
deal
them.
with, and since I didn't want to machine an elaborate
Oh.
heatsink, I figured water cooling would be the better option. I picked up a water block designed for CPUs, along with a pump and radiator, and assembled a cooling loop.
Oh, he's doing custom water cooling. Oh, I actually know about this one. That's not what I was expecting. Ooh, also Thomas. Oh, Mage or Nafandi by Burger Creek, I'm assuming. I saw that one came out. I haven't checked it out yet, but it does seem interesting.
However, jamming all the plumbing into the case along with the electronics and batteries turned out to be very difficult.
Honestly, at this point, you should probably just see if you can reorient it so it can vent directly out the top and you just don't touch it. But that would also destroy the aesthetic he's trying to keep it to fit in, and that's probably not going to work.
In fact, not long after finishing the laser, the control electronics burnt up randomly, and then when I rebuilt them, they all burnt up again. The circuitry isn't even complicated, but because it was all free-wired, it was incredibly time-consuming to redo. I never actually identified the problem, so when I finally decided to try building it once
Soldering,
again,
man.
I added all sorts of fail-safes against shorts and voodoo voltage spikes.
But...
The third time was the
oh god, he actually put on the full water block up here on top of it, like I said. And he put the water canister down below. He actually did it. Oh my god, this mad lad actually water cooled it. I thought he would give up and just put a fan in there on a big heat fin, but no, he actually is water cooling it with PC components on the top and the bottom. Which also means that his water is going to be on the lower end, which is where it should be. Huh.
charm, though, it seems, as this version survived past initial testing.
Oh my god.
I actually want to apologize to all my channel members and Patreon supporters that followed this project.
This is so
because it took
stupid.
so much longer than I expected.
Oh my god.
However, as you're about to see, this is the craziest handheld laser on the planet.
This is probably not something he's going to do, but I would absolutely love right now would be if we had a thermal camera and this thing's running to see the heat and how much is vented out of the top as he's running it. And also if there actually would be a noticeable heat difference by just holding this right here as a stock. Because on the one hand, he's putting more heat into the water just by his hand. On the other hand, it's probably collecting heat. Does it officially dump it? Or, oh, I don't even know, man. I'm seeing in the comment, this looks like Orctech. Yeah, I get that. That is very accurate. Oh my god.
I really hope it was worth the wait.
Oh my
With
god.
an output of 250 watts, this laser eclipses the threshold for the highest laser danger rating by a factor of 500. That means that just 0.2% of the
burning
laser's
snow.
power is already considered an instant blindness hazard, as well as a fire hazard. The luminosity of this laser is especially impressive as well, having more than quadruple the brightness of my 100-watt laser, as this one
I'd like to point out for everyone who doesn't realize it, recording in slightly dark environments, the amount of light I have in here is hard on some cameras. He's in the dark. Now, it's in winter because you can see the snow, so that probably makes any luminance go further. But recording in the dark for a lot of cameras is one of those no moments. So the fact that it's this visible with this much light everywhere between all of the snow bouncing around and the fact that there's that much light from it is kind of terrifying, and I love it.
one is a brighter sky blue color. It's funny because even though I built this thing, part of me still
You could actually see where the water passing through it almost looks like it's instantly vaporizing.
finds it hard to believe that a device like this is even possible. Let me give you a
Also, did you see how much that was glowing around? Like right here around the bloom, you can see it's just passively illuminating everything around it.
He still finds it hard to believe that a device like this is even
Ugh.
possible. Let me give you a quick rundown of the features of this laser. So this switch right here turns the whole thing on. Then you can see the readouts there for the battery voltage and temperature. Then these switches right here are what turn on the water pump and the cooling fans, which are impressively quiet, I have to say. Then
I mean, give them a little credit. The amount of heat this generates is PC cooling of this capacity can probably get up to 80 degrees Celsius cooling really easily. I don't know if it was a bit bigger. I could say you could even handle 100 degrees Celsius cooling. That's just based on my own PC and some of the others of this size with this kind of configuration water cooled. It's a little smaller, so it's probably not as efficient, but it's fine. These things, when they ramp up all the way, can do some significant noise. If heat doesn't have them going all the way, so if they're still on the quiet side, that means they could be ramped up higher. They could draw more air away from the fans, away from the radiator, which means he actually still has headway to do further cooling, which means he could overvolt it higher. Oh no.
the safety switch is right here, which of course arms the laser. Then these knobs right here control the PWM frequency and duty cycle. But for the time being, I'm just going to leave these maxed out. And then the trigger right here is what finally fires the laser. Pretty cool, right?
Oh, he had like gas on there. Yeah, that makes sense. He just lit his freaking shoe on fire.
I'm sure you're wondering, what can you burn with the world's strongest handheld
apparently
laser?
Your foot.
Well, a lot of things. Now, spoiler alert, the real crazy stuff happens when you stick a lens on front and focus the beam.
That was
to
without a
final
lens?
point. But let me first show you what the unmodified beam is capable of. Let's start
That
with
was
a block of
without a
wood.
lens.
The beam ignites the wood basically instantly, and you can even hear a little explosion as the pyrolyzed vapors catch fire as well.
Yeah, there's
The
a little
small portion of the
there.
light that reflects off of the wood is able to illuminate my entire shop. That's a lot of light.
Yeah.
Cutting electrical tape is a classic demo for a strong handheld laser. But of course, this laser is well over 1,000 times more powerful than what's needed.
Can we just take a second to appreciate this?
Laser. But of course,
He literally just lightsabered this thing, man. The weirdest part about this is that I haven't seen anyone weaponize this yet, because all you need is a range-finding laser and an auto-adjusting lens for where the beams would meet up. And you can more or less say, pull the trigger, first the laser goes out to see a range-finding laser to see at what point the distance is, and then another second maybe for the lenses to recalibrate automatically to adjust to exactly the right range. Depending on how good the mechanics would be. This is something I'm actually surprised we haven't seen gun manufacturers make, because you hit your target and you could actually make a point that if it isn't your target, it doesn't get the full payload. If it wasn't for the power thing, which they could sell as power packs, which could be taken out like a bullet magazine. I fully see someone reaching out to him about the design, because there's going to be someone making an entire prototype on this.
well over 1,000 times more powerful than what's needed to accomplish this. The tape is sliced as fast as I can wave the beam across it.
Not instant, but very,
The same
very
goes for
fast.
any sort of thin plastic I throw in front of it.
Dude.
A plastic cup is quite a bit thicker than the tape.
Really?
But it doesn't seem to have much meaningful effect against the laser. The beam punches straight through it without issue. While we're doing classic experiments, let's pop some balloons. That was pretty quick.
Dude.
While we're doing overkill,
What?
matches are unsurprisingly no match for the
Yeah.
laser.
Yeah.
Slow-mo shows that they make it about 2/100ths of a second before catching on fire.
And the rest
Newspaper
ignited.
falls in the instant ignition category as well. Just barely
Why are
clicking
you
the
holding
beam
it
is
up
enough to light it on fire. Any paper product is this way, really, but paper bags make an especially satisfying sound from the flash pyrolysis.
What? Oh! Yeah, they did kind of pop.
You might think that solder would be a challenge considering how reflective it is.
No,
But nope,
it's meant
it
to be
melts
melted.
nearly instantly. A CD was the first real challenge for the
dude.
laser. Of course,
Really?
it still caught on fire instantly,
Because of the
but it
coating
took a
on it.
while for the beam to punch
Would
all
the
the
other
way
side
through.
be different?
I think the sooty flame in front was attenuating the beam before it could hit the plastic. The end result was...
Yeah, you can actually see where it burned through. Melted the... Oh, you can see the drip marks. Oh, dear God. It's an AOL online. Oh, my God. The burn is coming up. And Croc, you mentioned, in 2019, Alexander Fitzwetsky, I'm probably butchering that name, the student of Warsaw University built a real lightsaber. Even the newspapers were writing about it. I think I actually remembered reading about that. Huh.
Was pretty neat, though. I briefly talked about the PWM feature, and I want to show you what this does when it comes to burning. By switching the laser at audio frequencies, the target actually makes sound as it vibrates from thermal expansion and contraction. In fact...
That's the target making that sound! So he's literally burning the wood to the beat.
This effect went far beyond my expectations. Now I'm wondering about the possibility of building a musical laser. I'll have to save that for a different video, though. Alright, now it's time to actually test this laser's true destructive power. I'm going to stick a big f-theta lens on front in order to concentrate the output to a point and maximize...
That is chunky. Also, I think we've reached full-on Fallout tech. People were making jokes about orcs in the chat while we're watching this live, but no, right now, this is literally something out of Fallout. Oh, Alexandra? Ah, oops, I got the name wrong then. Sorry about that, Thomas.
Power density. Everything I've shown so far can be accomplished by weaker lasers. So this is the point where I enter uncharted territory for a handheld laser. Let's start by trying something that the last record breaker couldn't accomplish.
What?
Melting a penny. Alrighty, let's try melting through this penny.
It's illegal, but it's a penny, who cares? Is that smoke? Oh God, he lit a penny on fire.
What? Oh, that's crazy. I wasn't expecting to burn. It burned the zinc inside.
Was it the zinc burning or all the schmutz on top of it? Probably both.
That's nuts. Wow. It's hard to see the actual flame when there's so much blue light from the laser, but I did manage to repeat the effect and get a flame to sustain for a bit after turning it off. And as a bonus, it left a bizarre frozen smoke remnant of zinc oxide. The fact that the laser literally lit a penny on fire is an astonishing result to me. I've done all sorts of mad science experiments with pennies over the years. I've dissolved them in acid, treated them with cyanide, hit them with 1,000 amps, blasted them with other lasers, but none of those methods ever managed to light a penny on fire. Even torching a penny doesn't ignite it.
It just kind of melted it.
It simply melts it. I think the reason the laser can ignite pennies is due to extreme local heating.
Yeah, I mean, he also the beam confirmed. And the fact that the smoke then solidified is admittedly kind of the coolest thing I've seen yet. Metal smoke. Solid metal smoke. That's... I hope he's wearing protection like for his lungs, because that's stuff you could breathe in, man. That is probably not good.
The zinc that's being exposed to the laser is likely reaching its boiling point faster than it can transfer heat to the rest of the penny. Then the resultant jet of zinc vapor goes on to ignite on contact with air. At that point, the heat from combustion can sustain the flame for a bit even after the laser is removed. I think that explanation makes sense, at least. For the next experiment, let's see if the laser can make it all the way through an aluminum can. I'm pretty sure this thing will burn through one side of the can, but to go all the way through, that's what I'm not quite so sure about. But, let's give it a go.
Oh yeah!
Wow, it was just instant.
That was not even a test at that point.
This thing keeps surprising me. That's insane. The last record breaker couldn't defeat an aluminum can either, so the increase in power is...
It couldn't. And like, that was just done. One and done. Literally less than a full second. I know the military was looking into laser weapons, but I think this guy's probably matching what they could do at this point.
It's pretty obvious here. Let's see if the laser can open up this glass soda bottle.
Oh no.
What could possibly go wrong?
Words I've never heard anywhere before. Nope. Oh, it's reflective.
Oh my gosh.
One sec. Allergies. Do not get them. Highly recommend. Bad choice. Really wish I hadn't made it. But you gotta take what you choose. And it exploded. Thermal expansion of glass. It was reflecting though, but it was diffusing. Oh my god.
Oh, I'm so happy it exploded like that.
Yeah, that's exactly what you hear when you're right
my
next to it. The water heated, yeah.
It was like a glass balloon. That was fun. Let's
What?
pop another one for good measure.
A darker can this time. Took a little longer, but it still broke. Yeah, looks like it is the water pressure.
Well, it's not exactly an ideal bottle opener there, but that was pretty cool.
If it works, man.
Shop is gonna smell like beer, or I mean soda.
Probably everything else.
I wonder
as
if
well.
the laser is strong enough to punch through drywall.
Oh, if it's not, I'd be surprised. Yeah?
You're kidding me. Wow. It's white. You'd think that it would like reflect off all the light. That's bonkers.
Can it burn through a
I
mirror?
would have never thought that that would be possible with a handheld laser. That is ridiculous.
Dude.
In the early days of big pulse lasers, before there were precise methods of power measurement, lasers were measured in gillettes. Now, this
Really?
literally meant how many Gillette razor blades the laser could shoot through in one shot.
Seriously?
Now, this kind of measurement doesn't translate to a laser that can operate continuously. But even so, I want to try shooting through some razor blades.
How many does
I
he
even
line
found
up for
some
this?
Gillette blades from the time period of early lasers to try this with.
Oh my god.
All right, moment of truth.
I did not know
Is the
that's how
laser at
early
least one
lasers was
Gillette?
calibrated, but
Let's
okay,
find out.
sure.
Oh yeah, not even a challenge. That was instantly.
I couldn't even tell when it
In fact,
ignited,
I
it
want to
just
see
went.
if I can actually cut this thing in half.
Yeah!
Wow.
He just lightsabered it.
Yep. Now let's see how fast it can punch through 5 blades in a row.
Near instantaneous,
All right,
probably.
here we go. Jeez. That is so wild. Wow, that's terrifying, honestly. The way to make the Gillette measurement make sense with my laser is to convert it into a rate, essentially going from units of energy to power. Since the laser burned through 5 blades in 0.9 seconds, I can say the laser has a strength of about 5.5 Gillettes per second. Let's try a utility blade that's more than 6 times thicker than the Gillette.
Actually, I just want to see what this would look like when you get down to it. Dude, this is... Sorry, lasers in slow-mo for me is one of the coolest things ever. You can see it's actually divoting. And yep, there's the breakthrough. Let's watch it full speed now.
And the Gillette. No problem there. Considering how fast the laser can melt holes in these razor blades, now I'm going to try welding 2 of them together.
Can you go through them sideways?
If this thing can weld.
Oh, he's actually welding them.
I can see it glowing and sparking.
But he's going through the other side on our end.
That's going to be a good sign. Well, I melted through.
It
I
might
don't know if
actually
I
be too powerful
welded
for
it,
welding.
But let's take a look there. Yes, it did. It actually welded it. No way.
Huh.
Look at that. It actually welded that.
Minus the
Now,
points
if
where it broke
anything, I
apart.
should have
But
moved faster just because where I held it too long, it burned all the way through.
Kinda
But
surprising,
it legitimately
actually.
is holding that together. Let's see if the laser can melt through copper wire. All right, here we go.
Oh, dude. Is it going through or bending?
Oh, it's melting. I think it's gonna work. Yeah.
Oh, dude, did you see that? You actually saw as the laser was changing the smoke patterns around it and the reflection patterns. That's so cool. You can see where it's starting to waver here because the metal is moving. And right as it's getting to the point, you can see it's just changing the pattern of the reflection. It's kind of weird how it's actually changing around here. I wonder if it's the smoke distorting it from there or something else. That is such a cool effect. And as it's actually breaking and it goes out, this is some Hollywood level effects just done accidentally.
Yes. Well, there it is. Wow.
Oh, dude.
This thing's really going toe-to-toe with a microwave.
Yeah. Also, according to Croc, militaries are already used laser weapons. A few examples: American Helios, British Dragonfire. Yeah, actually, it was almost probably 15 years ago. The Army demonstrated truck-mounted lasers for military anti-missile defense. Except they weren't meant for that. They were meant to be a demonstration of, is this a proof of concept? Except it worked. So the proof of concept could already do it. It needed a battery that took up the truck, but it could do it. They were meant for ships, which had nuclear reactors, though, so probably a thing. As far as I know, the biggest determination against lasers is smoke or cloud cover, but that's not really a huge thing if you could up the power to get around that. Although it does give away your position. Unless that's not a concern, in which case, who cares? But that was over a decade ago. Probably well over a decade. Probably closer to 20 years now that I think about it. No, probably more like 15. Still not better, but... So yeah, what he's doing here on the civilian front is terrifying because it means someone could do it at home and just do that as a thing. It's like the difference between a military drone and some random guy learning that they could just strap a cherry bomb to it, or a bunch of firecrackers, or the guy who finds out that they could get a drone, tie some bottle rockets to it, and make it go faster like a jet. Is it going to work? No, but there's at least one dumbass doing it. For the same reason that they would get model airplanes and put a firecracker in it with a or bottle rockets to see how fast they can make a paper airplane fly. Yeah. Oh, also, Airier, thank you very much for joining the membership at Beardly Beardington level. And yes, it's all facial hair themed. I have a type, and my type is, this is a funny joke, and I'm sticking to it.
I would have never guessed that. This seems like a stretch, but I'm going to try punching through this piece of titanium here.
Oh!
All right, let's see if this works.
Did it even...
No way. What?
Did it even
just
stop?
Shot through instantly. It shot a huge hole through it. Just instantly.
And then it deformed on the residual heat.
Now, titanium is not something that just melts easily. And as a demonstration, I have this torch here. So, I can hold this here all day. It's not going to melt. This one's really surprising to me. In my last video, I built a 20,000 watt microwave.
I remember this one.
In the experiments, I used it to make Ruby. However, the setup was far from ideal. It was impossible to concentrate the energy, and my containers kept exploding. Thus, the rubies I did manage to make were pretty small. I'm going to see if the laser can do it better. The starting mix is the same as last time. Alumina powder with a couple % chrome.
He's making laser rubies. Sorry, the titanium one actually is kind of insane because I legitimately wasn't sure what would work. Because there's a lot of things where it's, inches of titanium. Although I think it's more inches of steel because it's cheaper to make, but still.
Chromia added, which I got from Nighthawk and Light's video on cooking up rubies in a home microwave oven. Yeah, don't ask me about the name on that one.
They know what they're doing.
All right, let's try cooking some ruby.
Will this actually work?
Now it's sparking.
It hasn't burned through the ceramic yet, so there's that.
Glowing so brightly through the
Wait,
goggles.
you can actually see as it's in the back.
Oh, wow.
It's glowing on the inside.
So hot. Oh my god.
Oh, geez, that's its own internal heat. Is it getting brighter?
I had no idea it was like just melting it so well. It's crazy. I think I just made a huge ruby too. No way. I can't believe it's gonna work this well. This laser just keeps surprising me. Oh, it melted like a big old glob. I think it like beat the daylights out of the microwave actually. I had no idea that it was cooking that well. And look, it just made an enormous, huge ruby. What? That's crazy.
Oh, that's not the glow. That's actually just him putting a light on it to see what's transferring the light. Oh, shit, man. So theoretically, I kind of want to see him aim this straight down and see how much he could burn at one go, because how big of a ruby could he make with this thing?
It's huge. What?
World record for world's largest ruby?
That is crazy.
Wait, unless I'm wrong, aren't rubies also used to concentrate some lasers? Maybe I'm misremembering that. I thought I heard that somewhere.
In fact, I'm going to go ahead and give this guy a pluck. My gosh, it's an enormous ruby there. I'll clean that off and make another one.
How big of a ruby can he make?
This turned out to be a really reliable method to make big rubies, and it blows the performance of the microwave out of the water. Even freehanding the laser produced bigger rubies than I was able to get.
Also, yeah, he can apparently hold it by the water reserve, so the heat isn't, well, conjugating. Probably not the right word, but I'm using it anyways. Here. I was kind of worried that maybe it would dump more thermal load in this area, but apparently if he can hold it with just what looks like his bare hand, that's not the case. Good then, that means this is working really well. Also, Croc, you mentioned about civilians make weapons. Look up Nth Country Project. It was an experiment in the 60s to check how long civilians need to make a nuke. 3 years. What kind of nuke? Because honestly, if you collect uranium for glowing material, which is not a controlled substance in some countries, you could probably do it a lot faster. It's actually really easy because, at least in Canada, according to Niall Red when he looked this up, if you're collecting uranium for its glowing property, that is not regulated. You could just buy it for that. Flat out. It would not take any time at all. Granted, that was... Wait, no, it actually was still not regulated in the 60s for that, so it would probably be just as easy then as it is now. That's in Canada, though. I'm hoping America has some regulation against that. If I'm wrong, please don't correct me. I like to live in this polite fiction where that's not entirely possible.
Via the microwave. I'm very impressed with the size
They look like
of these.
berries.
I've never offered merch before, but I don't think anything could beat laser-grown ruby as my first product.
Yeah.
So I made a few extra to offer my
He actually is selling them. Unironically, I'm kind of tempted.
viewers. Check the link if you're interested. I'm curious whether white sand is reflective enough to resist melting in the laser beam.
Will he just make glass? It's not...
Oh yeah, just instantly melted.
Oh. How big of a glass bead can he make?
Oh my gosh, it's so bright. Even through these goggles.
Oh, you can see some of the balls forming.
Oh yeah. Wow, look at that stuff glow.
Whoa.
And it's white too. Like you'd expect it to just reflect it all away, but nope. It just melts straight through.
I guess the heat concentration outweighs the reflective
just
properties.
Bonkers, man. Considering how well everything else has worked, I'm going to try zapping tungsten wire. Now, as a reminder, tungsten has the highest melting point of the metallic elements. This is crazy that I'm even going to try this one.
Oh, no. I see smoke. Oh, it's already burning.
Oh, it's so close. I don't know, man.
Did it...
I'm gonna have to get the focus.
Or is it just something around it, like the oxygen burning around it?
It was close. I think it was slightly out of focus.
Oh.
So I'm gonna move this back just slightly and try it again. All right, I think I have it lined up better this time. Oh.
I think it moved. It burned.
Yes, it worked. Oh my gosh, I cannot believe that. That is insane. I would have never expected this laser to go like toe-to-toe with a microwave.
It didn't go toe-to-toe with a microwave. You have managed to build a laser that is probably more efficient. And again, I mentioned earlier, if he can make heat dispersion the only problem with the internals, he could probably get it to go higher by ramping up just how much heat this thing dumps out. Because if he says the fans are still going quiet, that means they have a lot of room to speed up and draw more heat out.
My goodness. That's crazy. It's crazy. The wire burned here instead of melted. But even so, that still takes some incredible temperatures.
My God, man.
The only other extreme material I can think to test the laser against is diamond. So I picked up some synthetic diamonds to laze.
Do diamonds even... Can they melt? I mean, I almost assume they would just shatter.
I honestly don't know what to expect from these.
Kind of tiny, actually.
So by some chance, can this thing burn through diamonds? Let's find out. Oh, they're burning. They are
like a
absolutely
crackle?
burning there.
Oh, shit!
I think one just exploded. Wow.
I'm sorry, I didn't actually know they would do that. That actually scared me. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm actually getting my lock-in pose. This is what I do when I'm actually playing games. Serious mode. Not as better at it, but it's like mental. That is insane. He literally made diamond popcorn. And according to the chat, Caden is asking how long it would take to pierce through the human body. That actually might be faster or shorter depending on where. And because the human body has a lot of water, and which might disperse the heat. Or it would make it expand and do worse, like it did the glass can. I honestly don't know. This is why you probably need a test dummy with appropriate amounts of water in it. Like a jello mold.
It actually lit a diamond on fire. Wow.
But if it did that to a diamond, probably
That's
pretty
amazing.
fast.
I guess it shouldn't be so surprising that diamonds burn, considering they're just carbon. But it still takes a very hot temperature to ignite them, and they reflect a large portion of the laser light anyway. In fact, the diamond reflections are particularly scary, since the crystals reflect intact portions of the beam.
Oh yeah.
Result in a terrifying disco ball of insta-blindness. My goggles protect my eyes just fine, but I'm glad none of the beamlets hit my cameras, as I'd hate to destroy
They would
my
have been
cameras
destroyed,
again.
yeah.
Oh, that's interesting how it changed allotropes there. It turned to like amorphous carbon there in the center. And
Would he be able to melt diamonds together?
Unlazed diamonds there on the side.
No, it's like just ash in the center.
Oh, that's weird. That must have got really hot. I could see some of them burning too. I could see the sparks flying out. Yeah, it changed the allotrope. Lithium coin cells aren't exactly as tough as diamonds, but they turned out to be a lot of fun to zap.
Oh, they explode, don't they? Yep! Yeah, they explode!
Their metallic lithium content makes them quite pyrotechnic when they fail. Heck.
Yeah.
Interestingly, the effect depends on which side is hit by the laser.
Really?
Blazing the positive side is what gives a rocket-like effect, with flames colored red from lithium's atomic emission spectrum.
Oh.
Hitting the negative side is what makes them pop more violently.
Why so? Like, what?
Heck.
Why would that happen?
Oh, there's lithium burning on there. Oh boy. One of the batteries even splattered some molten lithium on the laser lens.
I've never seen molten lithium before. Holy shit, man. Oddly enough, I've seen a lithium crystal, but that was just because they had a giant one. No, sorry, I think it was not a lithium crystal. It was something else incredibly rare in the Pittsburgh Oakland Museum of Natural History. They had a giant crystal of something incredibly rare, and I cannot remember what it was.
Oopsies.
Can you get that off even?
So I have an old style ping pong ball here. Now these old style ones are flammable because they're made out of nitrous cellulose. But the problem is it's hard to find those locally, so I have to order them online. But because I've bought these online, now I get sent this physical spam in the mail from Paddle Palace. It just sounds so bad. But
I'm going to be honest, until he showed us the picture, I was not expecting it to be about ping pong, even if it came with this, because that really feels like if you go to the hyperlink involved, you're going to get something very different, because only a select group of people know what this is for. Oh, God. Well, Car is Siren in the chat. I'm going to pull this over here. Magnets on one side would refocus laser toward a central spot where the other would almost repel them. So I'm assuming one side refocused it so it exploded, the other repelled it so it created more of the explosive fire to disperse the heat. That's kind of fascinating. Which means he hasn't even played with magnetic focusing of lasers yet. Just straight up lenses. Is he going to make a laser magnet railgun or something at this point?
I don't play ping pong ball. All I do is just blow these things up with lasers.
Oh my God.
So anyway, I'm gonna shoot through one with this huge laser here. Hand yeet.
That just looks cool, man. It just burns away.
Yeah, just instantly.
That is
Typically,
actually really
when
cool.
I make videos about my lasers, I show you all the cool stuff that they can do and leave out what they can't. But you know, some of the failures are even more interesting.
Or not do?
So, what are some surprising things that this laser struggles with?
Ceramics?
Burning a hole in a CD case is a classic demo for a powerful handheld laser.
Yeah?
Going back to the archives, it shows that a 1-watt laser takes a few seconds to pull this off. So, does this laser do it 250 times faster? Nope, it's actually slower.
Really?
What's going on? Sometimes there's a paradoxical effect with lasers, where increasing the power weakens its effects on materials.
Really?
Flames, smoke, or even plasma from the laser hitting the target can absorb most of the laser light and protect the material beneath it.
Because like I mentioned before, the biggest thing about a laser is particulate matter blocking the path means that you don't deliver the most of the energy or the most impact of the energy to where you go. So by putting out more heat and more smoke, it's disturbing the light enough that it doesn't give it the most impact.
This effect is very prominent with pulsed lasers, and explains why this laser can pop craters into tungsten, even though it struggles to pop a balloon.
Damn.
The CD case immediately shot a jet of sooty fire when it was hit, and I think that played some protective effect. I've also noticed that some
Lighting
materials
yourself
can
on fire
become
is a protective
self-healing
feature.
to an extent when more power is applied.
Oh?
For example, my laser welding system actually cuts steel faster with the power turned down. At full power, even when the beam does punch through, the hole tends to immediately close back up when the laser is turned off. The reasoning is that the higher power results in more molten material that can fill in gaps. I tried another CD case at roughly 10% power using the PWM feature.
It went through almost
Sure
immediately.
enough, it burned through faster with less power.
Oh.
I then tried it at full power, but slightly out of the focal point to lower the power density. Since it didn't catch on fire, the laser shot through almost immediately. I always say that most problems in life can be solved with very powerful lasers.
I'm wondering now if this means that there's going to be some kind of crazy defense on top of tanks and other vehicles that would actually make a point to ignite if a laser is pointed at them as a protective measure. In the same way that there are external explosives sometimes placed on tanks so that if something is about to explode, there's a proximity explosion to push it outward. Not always the best choice, but that is something that has been done. Huh.
And although this may seem like an exception, the reality is that the problem will go away if you throw even more power at it.
But
The issue is that more power isn't always possible, at least based on
how much
engineering
could he ramp
constraints
it up?
or even the current state of technology.
If he wasn't doing a handheld laser, if he was doing a turret again, but custom making it and maybe going all in on his own power source, just how crazy could he make this go?
Mirrors also showed some self-healing effect.
Oh.
Ironically, it was the shiny part that burned, while the glass simply melted and prevented total burn-through.
Oh.
Another surprisingly difficult task for the laser is igniting flammable liquids. For example,
What?
I've got this glass of butane here, and oh, look how angry that is. They're just like boiling away. Just the tiniest little spark is all it takes to turn this thing into a fireball.
But
So, what happens if I shine the laser at it? Absolutely nothing.
oh.
The thing about flammable liquids is that it's really their vapors that ignite. It's easy to imagine
Not
a
the
laser
liquid.
as just a long-distance torch, but unlike a flame, the energy from a laser has to be converted to heat via absorption by a material. The
So if
problem
he
with
shot the
vapors
vapors,
is since
would it
they're
ignite them?
transparent,
Like above
they
it?
don't absorb light and thus they don't heat up. You can
Oh.
get around this with a laser many thousands of times more powerful, as at that point you can initiate a spark via the electric field. But for a laser like this, I have to cheat
Spark
and add
with
something
electric
else to
fields.
burn that can then go on to ignite the liquid.
Yeah. That does look cool, man.
I figured that the plastic case of a lighter would provide enough flame to ignite the vapors released when it pops.
What?
But even this turned out to be a challenge. Are you serious? I eventually got one to go up in a nice fireball, though.
Fuck, man. Also, I noticed he is shooting it through a closed glass window, which, yeah, it's actually just a house window he made a frame around. That's, huh. Because earlier he had it open, now he has it closed, so I guess that makes sense because it's a glass lens and this is a flat plane. It would make sense not to kill it. Although I wonder if this is one that's treated to block out some of the upper ends of the radiation spectrum. Some windows are treated just to reduce UV entering the house. I wonder if that would have an effect on this. I have absolutely no idea.
I did find that with this laser, I can just pour
Oh,
a
God.
flammable liquid on the floor and then ignite it by pointing the focused laser at it. I'm still cheating by heating the concrete to super high temperatures,
Dude.
but still my first handheld laser that can at least do this. It's crazy just how much power it takes to get to this point.
That is so
What
cool.
about snow and ice?
What?
One of my most common suggestions is to make a laser that can quickly melt snow off of driveways and sidewalks.
Why is he running down
But
the window?
unfortunately, lasers suck at this.
You know what? I was expecting something to do with lasers to be the craziest thing today. I'm taking this back. Walking outside in the snow in socks and it looks like boxers. That would do it, man. I mean, this guy would have to have a massive, huge overload of, like, what is it, testosterone to make it through this thing. I mean, this guy would have to be off the charts with testosterone to be able to survive this level of what the fuck, man. Oh, wait.
Snow is highly reflective, so most of the light bounces off instead of heating and melting.
But he's still
it.
burning things underneath
The
it. You
bigger
saw that
reason,
smoke.
though, is that ice takes an enormous amount of energy to melt. Water is incredibly stubborn thermally, and in order to
why
get
they
it
use it
to
in a lot of
change
places.
phases or even temperature, you have to dump in a ton of energy. My much bigger and stronger laser welder can slice through about anything. But
So the laser welder he made the turret off is actually stronger. Okay. So this is literally just the biggest handheld version he can make it, not
when
the
it comes
biggest
to
he can
snow
make.
and ice, it hardly makes a dent. Yes, that's running at the full 2,000 watts.
Oh
there,
yeah, right there. You
yet
can
its
see it's
effect on
slightly
the snow
melting
is
it.
barely noticeable. The full power only becomes apparent when I hit something other than snow with it. In fact, this laser will melt steel faster than ice of the same thickness. Funny how that works.
Oh yeah, you can actually see is the steel melting is doing more to melt the ice than the actual ice melting.
Assuming perfect 100% light absorption and ice right at the melting point, my handheld blue laser could, in theory, melt 0.75 grams of ice per second, or basically 1 ice cube per minute.
Dude.
This is a great example of how lasers aren't impressive for their raw power, but instead excel in power density.
Dude.
Since I'm claiming that this is the most powerful handheld laser in the world, I need to make some clarifications. So by handheld, I mean something that can be, comfortably held in one hand, and also has its own enclosed power source.
Which is probably the important part there, because if he can make it external, like a power pack, I mean, one, I would not feel comfortable personally wearing the batteries he welds together on my backpack, but that is an option.
So an example of something that wouldn't count towards this would be my laser bazooka. It's portable, but way too big to be considered a handheld. It also sucks. Another example would be my laser welding and cleaning machine. Yeah, the output is fed through a handle, but it's tethered to a 400-pound machine that doesn't even have its own power source. So no, that's not handheld either. Another important distinction when I'm talking about the most powerful laser is I'm referring to CW, or continuous operation.
Oh?
Pulse lasers can achieve far higher peak powers,
Because they're
only
not
for a
doing it all
tiny
the
fraction
time.
of a second. And in general, they're much less destructive than CW lasers.
Oh.
For example, this laser I built nearly a decade ago achieves higher peak powers than what I showed in this video, but only for billionths of a second. Overall, it's a much weaker laser. Now, funny story, I was actually contacted by a very large record book company about the original record breaker, but I didn't pursue it because it involved having the power verified by 2 independent sources. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a very reasonable expectation,
But
it's actually kind of hard to pull off. So a laser power meter that can measure hundreds of watts is expensive, and it's just not something that's like commonly encountered.
Did he already
so
get
only
one?
a few companies and universities are going to have something like that.
So which one partnered with him to do it this time around?
But the bigger issue is that most people that work with big lasers for their career aren't going to want to be near lasers like this.
Why?
Like, it's easy for me to get desensitized to this kind of stuff, but no, this is a psychotic project. And
Yeah, because anyone who works with big lasers is like, oh yeah, we have it in a safe look. Oh, they're walking outside with it. Yeah, anyone who's not used to this level of insanity probably, hell, just watching this, we're probably more desensitized to the people who are used to the, oh god, it could do this, and they have it now function. Desensitization, man, it's kind of terrifying when you think about it.
I can only imagine the aneurysms that OSHA and lab safety would have over these things.
I don't think they so much have an aneurysm as, oh god, they're doing the full Boeing response. Take that how you wish.
And even if I did find 2 people willing to test this laser for me, it's not like I can ship it or take it on a plane with me.
Yeah, and probably not for the laser parts. It's probably because of the batteries and the freaking liquid coolant. Actually, if anything, it'd probably be the cooler more than anything else.
It would have to be within driving distance. And because where I live isn't exactly the mecca of photonics, looks like you're probably just going to have to take my word for it for the time being.
It's only like a 20-hour
Earlier,
Uber.
I said that this thing is 50,000 times over the legal limit for a laser pointer. So, does that mean I'm going to jail for making it?
I mean, if you do something illegal with it, sure, they'll throw the book at you for it, but it's one of those enhancement laws where they're not going to bother unless they want to get you for something. And honestly, at this point, anyone dumb enough to go after him is probably going to experience all the random bullshit in his house.
Nope. So the cool thing about U.S. laser law is that limit only applies to the sale and import. So there's nothing stopping me from making death rays in the comfort of my own home.
Oh.
Now, of course, I can't go out and sell this thing or play with it in a park, but I can show it off on a YouTube video.
Why couldn't he play with it in a park? I mean, other than general safety, but I wonder if there's actually a law for that one. Because who would actually recreate a law about overpowered laser handguns? Because at this point, that ain't a laser pointer anymore, man. That is not a laser pointer.
Additional point I should add is that the U.S. laser pointer limit of 5 milliwatts is actually quite lax compared to the rest of the world. Canada, Australia, and most of Europe set the limit to 1 milliwatt.
Oh!
So if you're in one of those places, my laser is actually 250,000 times stronger than anything you can buy. Now, personally, I think 1 milliwatt is too restrictive, since that's hard to see in a well-lit room.
Yeah.
Besides, even at 5 milliwatts,
of course, the bigger, stronger, more durable laser, the Viagra laser. If your laser lasts for more than 4 hours, consult with a doctor immediately.
The data shows that our blink reflex is fast enough to prevent eye damage from a direct hit.
Oh my God.
One final point I want to cover is safety. So my more recent videos have dealt with projects so extreme that I haven't even bothered with the whole don't try this at home bit. Just
because anyone who could try it at home is probably doing a lot dumber things, is what I would like to say, except Florida exists, so.
Because honestly, this kind of stuff is beyond what can be replicated without specialized tools or equipment. And yes, this laser is so far off the laser danger rating scale that its eye hazards are incomprehensible.
Yeah.
However, that's not what I want to talk about with this bit.
Oh?
I want to talk about handheld lasers that you can buy online.
What?
If you have a laser that looks like any of these, chances are that it's quite a bit over the legal power limit.
Oh.
And can cause permanent eye damage from even an indirect reflection. A laser doesn't have to be record-breaking to obliterate your retinas if misused. I realize this warning may seem ironic coming from me, but laser eye injuries are unfortunately very common today. I've covered this topic more in depth in some previous videos, but the gist is,
telling illegal blue lasers from eBay, or testing, and making them even stronger, eBay laser pointers are dangerous. Yeah.
Tread very carefully with lasers
Nicolas
bought
Cage
online.
image?
Now I have to say,
Kitty!
I'm glad to
Sorry,
finally
man
finish
of
this
easy
project
things,
and put
just
it behind
Kitty.
me because it felt like every single part just took way longer than expected. So a big thank you to all my channel members and Patreon supporters for sticking it out.
And for everyone who is a supporter of his, one, thank you, but also, oh dear God, why? I'm legitimately wondering, at what point is there going to be a... You know, I'm debating on if I shouldn't actually say what I'm about to out loud, because it kind of just like the Murphy principle of if you say it out loud, someone will tell you it exists. Fuck it. There's a point where we shouldn't have said anything and we're well past it. Let's see how far we can go and see what happens. I'm wondering if someone's going to tell me, yeah, this guy and Kyle Hill are making a nuclear powered laser because apparently if you go about it the right ways, you can get enough nuclear material to make fusion powered energy. So why not a nuclear laser? How bad could that be? The next video is I'm writing my initials on the moon. I don't know if this is a real thing or not. I hope it's not. There's a good part of me wondering how long it'll take before someone in the comments when this video finally goes live for everyone saying, yeah, he did it on insert video link here. There's a non-zero chance that everything I'm just saying now will become reality. And it'll be the coolest, most terrifying thing I've ever seen. Until now, Red does something accidentally way more terrifying.
And really for making projects like this possible. And I also want to give a big thank you to Opera for sponsoring this video.
They are enabling him.
I've been using Opera for a while now, and it's the fastest browser I've ever used.
Dude,
On
that's
the
a bulky
surface,
laptop.
it simply
Nice.
loads pages quickly. Where it stands out is in its time-saving and productivity-enhancing features. For example, my favorite feature is tab islands.
So the rest was all just the Opera ad. I have issues with that browser personally, so I'm not going to touch it. But holy hell, man. It's not the most powerful thing he made, and he's made some way more crazy things or updating other aspects to be way more insane. But the fact that it was there, the fact that this is an easy handheld one, and if he could ever get it so that the only limiting factor was just the heat distribution, he didn't ramp up those fans. He could have them be very loud and moving very fast and drawing more heat away. So if that was the only limiting factor, if he had more powerful batteries that can dump more heat and dump more heat away from the machine faster and more efficiently, this is literally one of the absolute most crazy things because he has headway already that he could work on. I am both excited to see this. I love it, but also I'm terrified to see how he tops himself because somehow he always does. Oh, dear God, man. So if you haven't, you guys know the deal. Link below, hit it up. It's awesome. Styropyro is really insane, and I love it. But also, let me know whenever he does the next absolutely insane what the fuck moment. Because they're not videos, they are experiences. Specifically, the experience of taking what you believe is real and smashing it with admittedly, a laser. He doesn't actually burn you with laser. He just smashes you with it because it's usually very big and heavy. And then he turns it on and it's even crazier. Yeah. So either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.